Hi there everyone. In this screencast I'm going to go over what my solution to fix 34 and the max span methods that I gave you in class last week um, are, so that you can look at it and review for the quiz on array lists tomorrow. Okay, so in fix 34 you were supposed to essentially move up all of the fours so that they would come immediately after a 3. So my strategy was to first use a for loop that went through every item in my array list nums. Then if it found a 3, then it needed to record exactly where that 3 was. So here we go. Int position equals I. So I will be where it has found a 3. And then it's going to use a while loop that finds the nearest 4. So it's while nums.get position not equal 4, position plus plus. So that keeps increasing the POS variable until it finally locates a 4 in the array list. And then once it finds that 4, it removes it, and the 4 will be in the location POS at that point. It removes it, and then it adds it in position I plus 1 because I is where the 3 is. And then finally it just returns the array list nums. So that's the way my fix 34 worked. I think it's a pretty simple way of doing things. The important takeaway is that this is a good way to search for an item in an array list. Now in this case we know that 1 occurs somewhere after the I position. But if we didn't, we could say something like this, as we do in the lower problem, and and POS is less than nums.size. Okay, so this would be, okay, continue to look for a 4 or continue to look as long as you haven't found a 4 and you haven't reached the end of the array list yet. Okay, so that's my fix 34. Then max span was you were counting basically the maximum. Well, if you had a 5 and then you had a 5 somewhere else in the array list, then the distance, the number of elements in between, plus the 5 on either end would count as a span. So you wanted to find the maximum one in the array list. So basically, and if you had all unique values, then the max span would be 1. And obviously, if the array list was size 0, I just interpreted it as the max span needs to be would be 0. Okay, so the way mine works is I have a for loop that goes from the very beginning to the very end of the array list, which is set up right here, and then it assigns to this variable num whatever is in the I position. Okay, then it starts creates this variable called POS for position, sets it equal to the last element in the array list, which would be in position size minus 1, and then it says, okay, while nums.get position is not equal to num position minus minus. So basically this starts at the end and searches backwards until let's see. Actually, you know what? This one, I believe I would need to say, and nums and position is greater than I. All right. right? Because if basically if it didn't find num, oh, actually no, you know what? I'm wrong. No, it does. It is just position not equal to num. If there isn't another occurrence of that value, then eventually this is going to be decremented to the point where it position is identical to I. And if that's the case, then the maximum span is just going to be 1. So, oh, and I forgot to say that you also initialize a max span found variable to be 1. All right, so that whenever it finds one that's greater than 1, as it goes through the list, it records it. So after the while loop has reached the first occurrence of the number that it found in position I, starting at the very end of the list and going down, well, then it checks to see if position is minus I plus 1 is greater than the max span found. So it turns out if there wasn't another occurrence of the number, then position is going to be equal to I, and then you're going to have a statement that says if position minus I, which is going to be 0, plus 1, if 1 is greater than max span found, it's not, so it's not going to update the max span found, because max span found starts off at 1, in which case there's no need to update it, because that means from that element there's no other occurrence of that same element in the list on the right hand side of that element. Okay, I hope that kind of makes sense. I think I've been kind of going around in circles, but hopefully you got something out of that. So I think the most important things here are that how to search through an array list for a maximum value or a minimum value, or just to search for an exact value. So in both of these, you are searching for an exact value in these two problems, but as you may remember from the other day, I think I went over it, if you're searching for the largest value, you can initialize a variable to be integer dot min value. All right, so that's literally the smallest int value that there is in Java, which I think is negative 2.8 billion. And then you go through your loop, and if you find a bigger one than that, then you update it. Kind of like here in max span found, whenever we find a bigger span, we update max span found with the one that it just found. And likewise, the same thing goes for finding the smallest value in a list. You start with integer dot max value, and whenever you find a smaller one, you update the value. Okay, hope that was helpful, and we will, oh, I did want to say you are going to get the quick reference, which lists the ArrayList methods that in detail. So if I go to, and I'm going to be giving you the quick reference that you get if you're taking the AP exam, and it looks like, let's see, right, and that, by the way, contains also references integer.min value and integer.max value. And let's see, where is it? Oh yeah, here we go. Array list size, add, get, set, and remove. So if you can't remember if the index or the object comes first when you're calling the add or the set method, you can look it up right in the quick reference. So so you should be fine, and don't worry about memorizing that. All right, have a good night, and we will see you tomorrow. Cheers.